Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic and Sheer Lunacy. That is what we are faced with today. I'm going to be having a go at a puzzle called What Lies Beyond the Fog by ViKingPrime, and ordinarily I would see a Fog of War puzzle and my heart would leap, and it did. When I opened this puzzle up, I thought, wow, Fog of War. I love Fog of War, and Fog of War, for those of you who aren't aware, is Sudoku, where you're meant to logically deduce the positions of digits in the grid just by using, the little bits of cells we can see beneath the fog. And when we put a digit close to the fog, so say we got this digit somehow, it would clear the fog from these cells and we'd see underneath it. So far, so good. And then I started reading the instructions, and we've got to place the digits 0 through 9 in every row, column or box. You will realise that there are 10 digits 0 through 9. Now this is a 9 by 9 grid. So the way we do that is that there are Schrödinger cells in the puzzle which are going to have to contain 2 digits at the same time. And that was slightly disturbing. But then I carried on reading the rules and discovered that this puzzle is full of lying clues. So I think you get 3 types of a clue, and 2 of the types, so see these V's here, I think what the rules are going to say, and I will read them fully in a moment or two's time, but I think what this says is that these 3 V clues, one of them is not telling the truth. So we've got fog, lying, and Schrödinger all mixed up together. I'm guessing this puzzle is going to be very hard. I meant to look it up and see if it was on Logic Masters Germany to see how difficult it was. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be monstrously hard, but I don't know, and it would be quite amusing if it turns out to be a short video. Assuming this does become a video at all, you'll be able to look at the length of it now and know what I'm in for. Anyway, I will read you the rules of ViKingPrime's puzzle in a moment or two. I don't have much news for you. Tomorrow is the closing date for our competition for February, which is, of course, Riff Clown's Interactions Sudoku Hunt over on Patreon. You could still get it done by tomorrow, so if you haven't started yet, do have a go. And do remember, over on Discord, there is a Patreon-only special chat channel where you'll find lots of your fellow Patreons willing to swap hints and tips. So if you are stuck on the last puzzle, that might be a good place to look. But get your answers in by some point tomorrow to be in with a chance of winning the competition. Also over on Patreon, there's bonus crossword content. There's some of my bonus solves. Very long videos is where we tend to put them on Patreon as a bonus over there. Maybe this will go there, who knows. And what else? I've got birthdays to do. Let's do some birthdays. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to say Chamor. Now it could be Chima, it could be Chama, but I think it's I think it's Chimor. It could be Chamor. I don't know. Your brother. I'm gonna have to decide, aren't I? Your brother. I'm going to say Chimo. Your brother Chima, your brother called Juan Pedro, wrote to us and said that you'd started watching the channel, and well, I think you've been watching for a while, and you got Juan Pedro into the channel, and I think you're one of 6 siblings originally from Honduras and now living in Panama, if I'm not mistaken. And Juan Pedro is in Brooklyn, and thought you'd appreciate a shout out. So that is what I'm doing. He wishes he could be with you today, and he hopes you get chocolate cake. And he said that this message comes to you from Brooklyn by way of Tegucigalpa. I hope I'm saying that correctly. What a name that is. What a brilliant name. And anyway, Chimo, many happy returns. I'm really worried that I've got your name. I'm saying your name incorrectly. And when I get, just to tell you, I do a bit of due diligence. When I don't know how to do a name, I do go onto the internet and I look at the various pronunciation sites, but some names, they give loads of different ways of pronouncing it, so I still am none the wiser. So I don't just do it flippantly. Anyway, let's move on. Carl, it's your birthday today. In fact, Carl in de Welt. I think that means Carl in the Veld. So I guess it might be South African. But your wife Ellen, Carl, wrote to us and said that you watch daily and would like a shout out for your birthday. So many happy returns today. I hope you get chocolate cake. And then the only other message is not a birthday, but I wanted to thank Abby for your kind email, Abby, and for sending me those. Now, is it GIFs or GIFs? I'm going to get that wrong. Oh, dear. I think it's GIFs. But this always causes consternation because everybody has a very strong opinion about whether it's GIFs or GIFs. And I think it is GIF. And that will lead to much opprobrium. Anyway, let's turn our attention to solving in what could be a very long video. This is the puzzle What Lies Beyond the Fog? Who Knows? By ViKingPrime. Get ready for the rules. Place the digits 0 through 9 once each in every row, column and box. To enable this, each row, column and box contains exactly one Schrödinger cell, i.e. a cell that contains 2 digits. The grid is partially covered in fog. Placing correct digits in non-Schrödinger cell. Oh, I see. Oh, the Maverick's just taken off. My senses are being assaulted. Placing correct digits in non-Schrödinger cells will clear the fog from the surrounding area. Brackets, no guessing is required. Okay, I hadn't appreciated that. So what that's saying is, imagine this square was a Schrödinger cell. I'll use red for Schrödinger cells. So say it contained a 1 and a 2. Now, although that might be correct in every way, it's not going to clear the fog, which is rotten. So actually, we're going to have to really focus on the non-Schrödinger cells, because those are the ones that are going to clear the fog. Right, here's the bit about lying. It says, each of the standard clue types below occurs exactly 3 times in the puzzle. For each, exactly 2 of the appearances of that clue are correct, and the other is incorrect. The clue types are counting circle. Okay, and then it says brackets, i.e. each circle digit counts exactly how many circles contain that digit. Hyphen other clues consider the sum total of a cell. Right, so let me just think about that for a moment. That's saying that there are some, let's use some circles. So there are some circles in the grid under the fog. There are 3 of them. And if a circled clue was correct, it would say how many circles contain that digit. But if a circle, but we only have to have 2 of these are correct. So maybe that means, I don't know. I feel that we're getting on to almost solving here, but I feel like that might mean that we have to have 2 2s in circles or something. Anyway, that's circled clues. But it then has this odd sentence. It says, other clues consider the sum total of a cell. I think I understand that, because it then says Dutch whisper orange. There is somewhere in the puzzle there is a Dutch whisper line, or 3 Dutch whisper lines, I guess. So a Dutch whisper line, an orange line. Now, along adjacent digits along Dutch whisper lines have to differ in value by 4. Okay, I'm realising why this is going to get even more complicated, because imagine there was a Schrödinger cell along a Dutch whisper line. This is what this clue is saying. It's saying other clues consider the sum total of a cell. So imagine that contained an 8 and a 9. Then the value of this square for the Dutch whisper line would be 17. And the next cell would have to differ in value by 4 from 17. So, yeah, you can see. So it could be ludicrously large. I mean, I suppose it couldn't be another Schrödinger cell, because you can't have more than 1 Schrödinger cell in a row. But anyway, that's how Dutch whisper lines work. German whisper. Now, these are German whisper lines. These are green. Now, adjacent digits along German whisper lines have to differ in value by 5 or more. Killer. Right, so there's some killer cages in the grid. We can't see any of them, but they are there. And the digits in a killer cage have to sum to the clue given in the top left corner of the cage, but we can't see any killer cages here, and you can't repeat digits in a killer cage. Crop key. So crop key, I guess that means white and black dots, but I don't know. It doesn't say. Because okay, yeah, okay. So whoever's put this in the software for me has put square brackets expanded rules in the video description, but they haven't given me the expanded rules, so I'm guessing a bit here. So crop key, I mean that looks like a white crop key dot. So crop key dots have to differ in value by 1, i.e. these digits should be consecutive. But of course, that's all thrown into higgledy-piggledy world by the fact that A, this clue might be lying, and B, it might involve Schrödinger cells. And if there are any black dots in the grid, black dots differ. Well, black dots, one digit has to be double the other. Of course, that's also complicated by the possible I mean, in this puzzle, I suppose you could have ludicrous things. You could have an 8, a black dot connecting to this square, and then this could be a Schrödinger cell containing a 7 and a 9, and that would work because 16 is double 8. Okay, X and V rules. Okay, well, oh, XV rules. So there's probably are X's under the fog, but there are definitely V's. We can see those. So V dominoes have to add up to 5. The digits in these should add up to 5, or the values of the cells here should add up to 5. If there's an X's under the fog, then they would add up to 10. And then there's one more line. It says disconnected lines within the same cell indicate 2 separate lines. Disconnected lines. So that's saying that these lines that we can see here are different lines. So it's not the case that this sort of bottom one loops over the top and comes back in. So why is that rule necessary? So that's... Oh yeah, I can see a logical implication of that actually. Right, I do understand that, but I'll leave that to the solving part of the video. Anyway, probably the most complicated rule set we've ever had. It won't fit on the side of the screen, I'm certain. So if I do get through this video and it becomes a video, and you're looking at the rules on the side of the screen thinking, I don't quite understand what's going on, definitely look in the video description where I will spend some time writing out the full rules. I wish I had the full rules, but I don't yet. But do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And the one good thing about fog puzzles, well, there's many good things about fog puzzles, but the one good thing about this fog puzzle is I think we have to look at the cells we can see. And yeah, so when I was just reading that rule about disconnected lines within the same cell indicate 2 separate lines, because these lines are therefore 2 different lines, even if one of them is telling an untruth, the other would have to be telling the truth, wouldn't it? And that tells us that these 2 cells, for example, do differ in value by at least 5, and so do these 2. But they're also on V's. But one of the V's has to be telling us an untruth. But it might be that one, I suppose. How does this work then? So these... Okay. So at least one of the V's in this row is telling the truth, which means that, yeah, that's very interesting. That's very oh, no. Well, it is interesting. I've just thought of something, though. Oh, bobbins. Right. What I was going to say is that I thought there had to be a 0-5 combination here somewhere, but that's not quite true. Because you could have, Because let's say this V was a correct V, then we're saying that these two digits have to add up to 5. But we also know, because of the green lines, that these two digits have to differ in value by 5. And that's quite a difficult thing to achieve. But you can achieve it with a 0 and a 5, for example. But then I've realised you could also achieve it by changing this to not be a 5, make it a Schrödinger cell, and pop a 2 and a 3 in there, and that works because this would have a value of 5, and that would have a value of 0, so it would work. And that's completely Bobbins-worthy. So, but isn't it? Oh no, and it's not even impossible. It's not even impossible then for both of these to be correct. Because then I was thinking, well, that's at least stymies the fact that both of these V's could be correct, but they could both be correct. Because what you could do, you can't repeat the 0, so you could put the 0 in the middle, you could have a 5 on one side and a Schrödinger on the other side, and make both the V's correct in the row, and fulfill the whisper that whichever whisper, and it might be both whispers, but whichever whisper is telling the truth in the row. But how are we ever going to know whether? Because that's certainly possible. But why? I mean, if this one's telling the truth, then there's much more flexibility with the V's, because you only have to use one of those. I suppose you always know 0. You always know 0 is in one of those cells, I think. That's actually worth, I mean, it's a deduction, isn't it? Because if 0 wasn't involved, 0 must be involved in whichever V here is correct. And if both of them are correct, 0 has to be in the middle. And does it matter that the lines are going off the edge of the grid? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not getting this at all. So if all three, when I say the lines are going off the edge, I mean they're going into this cell or this cell, but one of them could be telling a fib. So if oh, this is really complicated. Even this first step is really complicated. I can't see it at all. I have a feeling that this is a 0 here, a Schrödinger 5 number, and a real 5 number. What would be wrong with that? Then this would be telling a lie, but that puts no pressure on this digit. So that would be a 0. I suppose, well, if I can prove that's right, I get a 0 here. That would reveal the fog, which might clear something up here. But if one of these only was correct, maybe you always have, maybe it's this digit, maybe it is that digit is the one we should actually focus on. Because this, that's the way to think about it. Okay. The point, I think, might be this. This cell is indubitably part of two correct V's, because the three V's meet at this point, so it doesn't matter which two of them are correct. This V, this cell, needs to be part of two correct V clues. Now, so I feel, because I know that whichever, I mean, it could be both directions horizontally, but at least one horizontal direction must be a 0 involved with a 5. So if a 5 which could be Schrödingered. So if this was either 5 or Schrödingered, what would this square be? And that is if this is correct. So it's really complicated to explain this, but I don't think there's. I think I'd need two zeros. If I make this have the value of 5, then I think we need a 0 here and a 0 in one of these. So because this needs to be part of two different ways of making 5, and because the 5 that is forced upon, the correct 5 in row 4 is going to need the 0, I think that this has to be a 0. Yes, okay. Right. Now the problem with this is that I don't think it's going to take me very much further at all in box 4, because I do know that one side of this 0 in row 4 we've either got a 5, an actual 5, or a Schrödinger cell which adds up to 5, or both. And this cell has the same sort of quality. So I think we're going to. Oh look, we have got black dots. In fact, we've got a circle of dots. We've got a crop key. We've got a crop circle. We've got a crop key circle. A crop circle of dots. That's lovely. We must be able to do something with this. I mean, if this vertical one is correct, how can I possibly put? No. Okay. This is not a correct white dot. I can see that fairly quickly, because this cell would have to be consecutive with 0, so it would have the value of 1. And look, there are 3 black dots emanating from this cell, 2 of which must be correct, and whichever 2 were correct would have a 2 in the cell, because you can't put half in any of these cells. Remember, on a black dot relationship, we're looking for one of the digits to be double the other, or one of the values to be double the other. And there's no way, although we could say put a 2 here, and then we could say, well, we'll try and Schrödinger this, but even if you Schrödinger it, to make a value of 2 in this square, you'd need 2 1s in the cell, and that's just nonsense, isn't it? So this is incorrect. Now, do we have a way to... maybe I could do that. There we go. So that's incorrect, which means that these 2 other white dot relationships are correct. Yeah, okay, but bobbins. But okay, what I was going to then say is, but let's focus on this digit here. Actually, I don't want to use that colour. I'm going to use blue. This digit is definitely the central component of 2 black dot relationships, isn't it? So we don't know which 2 black dots are correct. It could be these 2, it could be these 2, or those 2. We don't know. But this is certainly the central cell of the black dot relationships. Now, well, okay. What I am going to claim then is that this is a correct black dot relationship. And that's because in this run of 3, this is 3 consecutive digits for sure because of the white dot relationship. So this could be something like 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, although 4, 5, 6 probably won't work because of the black dots. But it's something like that, or 6, 5, 4, could be the other way around. But the point is then that if the black dot here was correct, and if the black dot here was correct, then one of these digits needs to be double the other, and one of these digits needs to be double the other, and yet they also need to be consecutive with one another. Now, if we think of all the digits in existence, in the whole panoply of digits in the whole world, can you think of more than one pair of digits where the digits are consecutive and one of the digits is double the other? And I think you can come up with 1 and 2. It's certainly true for 1 and 2. They are consecutive and one is double the other. But it is not true for any other combination of digits. And therefore, I think we can rule out that both of these black dots are correct. So this black dot is correct. How am I going to show that? I don't know. But okay, but by the same token, that means that whichever one of these is correct is joining a 1 and a 2. Because it has to simultaneously be a consecutive pair and digits in a where one digit is double the other. Now we worked out this couldn't be a 1, so that suggests that this has to be a 2. I think that feels right. Yes. Okay, so now one of these digits is a 1. Oh, well, actually, okay, so these are 1 and 3. Oh, hang on, I've just had a horrible thought. I've got lucky. Oh my goodness, I got lucky there. Well, I could have very easily ruled out the option that I've just realised I got lucky about. I very easily ruled it out, but I didn't think of it, and that's bad. Because I suddenly realised that it's certainly true to say that this digit here does have to have, or this cell has to have a value of 2. That was true. But it could have been, apart from this 0, imagine this 0 wasn't here, it could have been a Schrödinger 0-2 cell. And that would not have cleared the fog. But had I thought of it, which I didn't, I could then have ruled it out by saying, oh, no, this couldn't be a 0-2 because there's already a 0 in the column. This is absolutely monstrous. It's so easy to make a mistake. So it was legitimate to put 2 there. But one thing we're going to have to be sure of now is, although I do know that there's a 1 in one of the, well, I think this is a 1-3 pair because they've got to be consecutive with 2. But the other digit that we could put in here is 0. So we could have a 0-1 Schrödinger cell, which of course wouldn't clear the fog, or a 0-3 Schrödinger cell. Now, but we know that black dot is correct, so that's got to be a value of 4. Which okay, and that can't be a Schrödinger. Oh, it could be 4-0. Oh no, it can't be 4-0. There's a 0 in the column. And it can't be 1-3 because the 1 and the 3 have been hypothecated to the white dots in row 3. So this is a 4, I think. I think this is just a 4. I'm almost prepared to put it in. Let me just mull that for a second. Is there anything else it could be? I don't think so. Right. Okay, so we've revealed more. Oh, these are the Dutch whisper lines, aren't they? Hang on. Hang on, I've got 2 1-cell 15 cages. Ah! Oh! Okay, so one of those Well, normally, neither could exist in a puzzle. You can't write 15 into a cell. But in this puzzle, we could create a cell with the value of 15 if it was a Schrödinger cell. So one of these has to be a Schrödinger cell because they can't both be lying, and the other is lying. So what do I want to do there then? So one of these is Schrödinger, which we said we were going to make red. One of these is lying, so it has nothing to do with 15. And we've got a single X domino. So these might have to add up to 10, but they might not if this is telling lies. And what does this mean? We can almost rule this out from being a correct V now. Unless it's a 5. If it's actually a 5, it could work. And then there'd have to be a Schrödinger 5 in one of these. But if this is not... Oh, hang on, I've had a different thought. Right, here's something I didn't notice before. If both horizontal V's were correct, then how do we achieve that? Well, the only way of achieving it, and I don't think it's going to matter which way round, I'm just going to show you, is put a 5 here, and then this would be Schrödingered. It could be the other way round. But then let's give this a value, 2, 3. Now, if we're in this world, one of these green lines, you see, see the top green line is going here, and the bottom green line is going here. Now, it's possible both green lines are trying to tell the truth, or it's possible only one of them is telling the truth. But one of them is telling the truth at least. And how do we how do we do that? Whichever one of these is trying to tell the truth, the top line or the bottom line, that implies that the next digit, this digit or this digit, has to be 5 different from a value of 5. Now there are ways of doing that in this puzzle. It's absolutely bonkers puzzle. There are ways of achieving it, but those ways are not available in this instance because we can't use 0 anymore. We've used 0 in the row already, and we can't create a 10 cell or higher because Schrödinger cells are not available anymore because this would be Schrödinger. So it's not possible. Oh, this is so beautiful. Good grief. So actually we now know that this is a correct. Right. This is so beautiful. Right. So we now know that this vertical V is correct because we can't have 2 correct horizontal V's. But how do we then achieve this? Now we could just put a 5 in there. And I think that's what we're going to have to do. Because the other way of achieving a 5 in this cell would be to create a Schrödinger cell which would either contain a 2-3 pair or a 1-4 pair, and they don't work. So this square is a 5. Yes. Yes. And now... Well, now, because one of these has to have a value of 5 but can't be 5, one of these is Schrödingered. And that means we've got an X-wing on Schrödinger cells. And we can ask where the Schrödinger cell goes in column 5. And you can see it can't be here and it can't be here, so it's down here somewhere. And therefore, we've got a 6 cage that has emerged from... Okay, so we've got a correct 6 cage, haven't we? Because one of these is telling an untruth. So this is a correct 6 cage. That's got at least 3 cells in it. Right, I see. Okay, so the minimum value of these 2 squares. Well, no, I'm going to go more. I'm going to say, I'm going to make a stronger comment than that. Oh, though, hang on. No, I can't make a stronger comment than that. I can't even make the comment I think I was going to make. What I was thinking is one of these squares is either a 2-3 or a 1-4. And that means the minimum value that these 2 cells can have is going to be to use the other 2 digits. So say this was a 2-3 pair and was Schrödingered, then these 2 squares' minimum value could be 2. They couldn't be 0, they couldn't be 2 or 3, and they couldn't be 5. So the minimum value of these would be 1-4. But I think that's still true, actually, because we don't want to put a 6 in either of these squares, do we? We just don't want to do that, because then the cage will blow up. Because if there's a 6 or higher in either of these squares, we can't accompany it with 0. So this cage would go too quickly. Yeah, so perhaps that's the way to look at it. So these digits must be selected from digits that are lower than 6. They can't be 0 or 5, and they can't be whatever's in the Schrödinger cell in one of these squares. So they are going to have to be, they do add up to 5. So my first thought was right there, but it was much more complicated than my brain realised. Naughty brain. So these add up to 5, which means this square is either a 0 or a 1, or, get this, or it's a Schrödinger cell that contains both of those digits. These add up to 5, and they're the opposite of whichever one of these is. That digit, okay, so that digit is under pressure, isn't it? That can't be. So that's a 1 or a 3. So this has got to be even. That's a 2 or a 4. Oh. Okay, but this might be wrong, what I'm about to say, so I'm just thinking about it for a moment. But hang on, if these add up to 5, and I think they do, then the rest of the cage, however large it is, must have a 1 in it to get us up to 6. So how can this be a 1? That would put 2 1s in the cage. So that has to be a 3 by sort of logic. And it is a 3, which means this has to be a 2. Ah! And now, one of these is a 1-4 pair. Don't know which ones. But one of those is a 1-4 Schrödinger. We've got some circles. We've got an X. We've got... Oh, the cage is big. The cage is... Okay, so it's 2 more cells. So this has to be a 0-1 pair. Because these 2 digits have to add up to 1. So one of them needs to be a 0, one of them needs to be a 1, and neither of them are Schrödingered. So we should definitely, I'll use green for not Schrödingered. Okay, and now maybe we may pencil out the rest of column 5, where we've got to place 1 and all the high digits, 1, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So this X could still be correct if this is a 6. and this is a similar thing to this, isn't it? There's two parallel Dutch whisper lines, but because there's two, one of them at least must be correct. Don't know what that means really. I find Dutch whisper lines quite confusing. Because I think I've sort of internalized German whisper lines over so many years, and Dutch whisper lines, none of the conclusions quite work, because the polarities can shift with the 159. Oh, and hey, here we've got 0 as well, and Schrödinger's. So basically, Dutch whisper lines in this puzzle are going to be completely new. There's a 2 down here by Sudoku. One of these is Schrödinger. We've got. Do we? Well, no, we don't know, do we? I was wondering if this was a lie, then this would be a truth. And we've got circles as well. So circles. If you put a 0 in a circle, that must be telling a lie, mustn't it? Each circle digit counts exactly how many circles contain that digit. So if you put a 0 in a circle, there should be 0 circles. That creates an immediate paradox. Right, so the only way this can be a 0 is if this circle is telling the truth. But that's fine. I mean, it's not fine. It's not fine if this x is telling the truth, because that would have a value of that would be a Schrödinger cell. It would have to be a Schrödinger cell. It would have to have a value of 10, and it would have huge digits in it. I'm not sure. And hang on, do I also know? Oh no, because only one of the V's horizontally here is correct, isn't it? So whichever one is correct has the Schrödinger 1-4 in it. And on the other side, we just have to obey German whispers rules. So we have to have a digit that's higher than, which we will automatically, because effectively we've used up 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in those 6 cells. So these digits are all high, and whichever one of these is not the 1-4 Schrödinger will also therefore be a high digit, and therefore naturally obey the German whisper rule. Okay, and we know one of these 15s is telling the truth. So there's either a 7-8 or a 6-9 in one of these. I can take. Here's something. Oh, here's something quite interesting. I know. I've never been good at parties. But look, 0 is not an option now in these cells, because I put 0 in here because I was worried about one of these being a Schrödinger 0-1 or a Schrödinger 0-3. Now that's no longer possible because the Schrödinger must live in the 15 cage. So this is a natural 1-3. One of the 15 cages is just talking nonsense. Okay, so this, sorry, that can't be a 1, I've suddenly realised, because I've got a 1 here. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, I was misreading my pencil marks. When I saw this could be 0, 0, 1, 3, I didn't realise that they always had to be 1, 3 there, so I could always, so this is always high. So what does that do from the sort of weird line perspective, the Dutch whisper line? So these 2 digits, can you do 9 and 6? No, 9 and 6 are 3 apart. That doesn't obey German or Dutch whisper rules. We've got no Schrödinger cell. So these are all right. Okay, so let's green these in the sense that these are all natural. They're natural. There's no Schrödinger shenanigans going on. So actually this is oh, I see, we can use 5. I was thinking I can't do it, but I can. I can do it. I can only just do it. Yes, okay. So I think this might have to be a 9, because this, imagine this was 6, 7 or 8. Then on both sides we need to put a digit, and it is just a digit that is at least 4 different from 6, 7 and 8. But the only digits we've got available that are in any way low are 0 and 5. And 5 is too close to 6, 7 or 8, but it's not too close to 9. So if this was 9 and then these two squares was 0 and 5, it would work. So I think that must be how it works, because it's the only thing I can think of that does work. So these are a 0, 5 pair. And now, oh, now look. One of these is a 7, 8 now. Okay, and one of them is a 6, but it's a lonely 6. It just looks so wrong, doesn't it? Because so one of these is 7, 8. The x has been proved. This x is wrong, so that x is right. Didn't I think that meant that wasn't a 0? Oh no, because that I don't know. Let's think about this. Actually, I was thinking maybe I could think about more about Dutch whispers, because they are extending in both directions there, and so these must obey Dutch whisper rules as well. But I suddenly realised I didn't want to think about that, because these could be Schrödingered again. Okay, so this x is correct. So this has a value of either 9 or 10. Now if it's 10, it must be Schrödingered. So if that's 0, that can't work. If that's 0, then that is an incorrect circle, because you shouldn't, because you can't put 0 circles or 0. Yeah, you can't have 0 appearing 0 times in circles if it's got a 0 in it. It's an immediate paradox. So that would be an incorrect circle, which would mean this would be a correct circle, yet it would be Schrödingered and contain digits summing to 10. So it would be like 1, no, it couldn't be 1, 9, it could be 2, 8. But I can't put 8. I can't put 8 8s in circles when I've only got one more circle somewhere in the puzzle under the fog. And even if that was Schrödingered, it could only have 2 digits in it. So 2, 8, 3, 7, 4, 6, these are all far too large numbers. The big number is impossible to fulfill. So I think that's a 1. I don't think that can be a 0. So that's a 1. This is a 0. And we do get something. We get a line here. I don't know if we know whether this includes a broken German whisper or not. But now we've got a 1 in a circle, which could be, oh, that could be correct, couldn't it? Because you'd have 1, 1 in a circle. And then the other 2 circles, one of which would have to be a correct circle. Oh, actually that doesn't feel very easy either, because I can't use 1 again now. Hang on. There's something weird going on now. And don't I know this is a real x, but that doesn't stop this being Schrödingered. Hang on, that can't be 9. No, it can be. No, oh, gosh. Oh, this is so confusing. No, it can absolutely be 9. This circle is going to be a lying circle, isn't it? Because again, it's too big. Oh, but that means this is a real circle. Hang on. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a circle up here so I can think about... No! I want to make a circle. Right. Let's imagine that that's the third circle, and we've got to somehow make these circles work. But that could be real or lying. But this is a real x, so the value of this is 9. Now, if we just put a big 9 in here, that's clearly lying from a circle perspective, because you can't put 9 9s in 3 circles. So that would be lying. This would be telling the truth. This would need to tell the truth. But what number could you put in it? No number. You can't put 1 in it. That would invalidate this as well. You can't put 2 in it, because you've only put you've got 1 2 in a circle. Oh, I see. But if that was a Schrödinger cell... Oh, that's beautiful. Right, I've got it. Okay. Good grief. Wow. This is very clever. It's really clever, actually. It's sort of... It's bordering on the unbelievably clever. Right. So this can't be a real 9. That's very clear. But what if it was a Schrödinger cell adding up to 9? And now it gets very interesting. Because, well, I don't know. What I was thinking could work is if we made that 2 7, and then I put 2 in that one. Because now I've got 2 2's in circles, even though this circle is telling a lie. I still do have 2 2's in circles. So it's sort of, the fact that the circle is telling a lie hasn't stopped it having the digit we need to make the circles overall true. I mean, that feels like it must be uniquely correct, doesn't it? But I'm not certain. Now, that's a way it could work, I think. Let's try and prove there's no other way it could work. Although, is it even any point in that? Because I'm not going to get anything for this digit, because it's going to be, if this is all correct, this is Schrödinger, and it's not going to clear any fog. Oh, bother. Alright, let's think about it anyway. So if this is telling a lie, this needs to tell the truth and have a value of 9 because of the x. It can't. Its high digit will be broken. It's either a 9, which is obviously broken, or it's a Schrödinger cell adding up to 9, and the high digit cannot be fulfilled. So this is telling the truth. Now that means that this, which we've worked out can't be a 9 on its own, is a Schrödinger. And there's only one more circle to come. Now that circle could be Schrödingered itself. But if it is Schrödingered, it still has to have different digits in it. You can't put 2 3's in it, for example. So you couldn't make this 3 6 and put 2 3's in here, which would have the correct number of 3's, but this would have 2 3's in it. And you can't put 2 3's in the same Schrödinger cell. So you can't do it with 3's or 4 6's or whatever it would be, 4 5. It's not going to work. So this is 2 7. And somewhere in the puzzle there is a circled 2, is my contention. Or maybe it's a Schrödinger's. Maybe it could be a Schrödinger cell. No, it couldn't be Schrödingered, because the other circle in the puzzle has to be a true circle. So it has to be true in all aspects. So it couldn't be a Schrödinger cell, because it must just have a solitary 2 in it. And then that 2 is saying there are 2 2's in circles, which there would be, even though this is a lying circle. Okay, so what do we get from that? We get that there's a 2 up here by the power of there being a 2 in the cell. The 7 is over here. So 7 is nearly... depends which one of these is 7, 8. If that was 7, 8, 7 would be there, which would make that Schrödingered. And that would make... hang on, which way round did I just say that? I felt like that went wrong. If that was 7... well, no, that is 7. If that was 7, 8... then 7 in this box goes here, but that puts the Schrödinger in the same column. Is that wrong, or have I gone mad? I think that felt right, but it's just truly bizarre. So let me do that again. This is 7, so 7 is in one of these 3 places. If that's 7, 8, Sudoku tells us the 7 goes here. We know one of these is a Schrödingered 1, 4, which would have to be there in the same column as another. It doesn't work. Okay, so that is a 6, is now my contention. Yes. Okay, so this is Schrödingered. That is a 7, 8 pair. So 7 is now one of those 2 squares. But... oh, we're going to get this, aren't we? Because the same thing happens again. We've got this X-wing on Schrödinger cells. So this Schrödinger cell is now here in box 5, which means that that is not Schrödingered, which means that is 7. That's going to clear fog. There's a circle. Now that might have to be a 2 from what we did before, but I'm not going to concentrate on that just for a second or two. Let me just think more about what's going on. But yeah, where's 8? In box 5, it's got to go there, doesn't it? Because this has got an 8 in it. Doesn't necessarily look like it has, but it has. And these squares are now, I want to say 6 and 9. I've seen something else I can do. Because this has got a 1 in it, this square, so we can do the 1 and the 3. Oh, look at this. It got sort of a... train tracks going around the grid on the right. Now that's got a value of 5, which is very difficult. Yeah, I see. Okay, so now this is very interesting for our green lines, because the green line on the left, the top green line, cannot be a telling the truth green line, because this digit would need to be 5 different from 5, and we've talked about how difficult that is to achieve. It either needs to be 0 or a Schrödinger cell to have a value of 10 or higher, and it can't be Schrödinger and it can't be 0. So this square, well, we don't know anything about it actually. All we know is that it's the bottom green line here that is telling the truth. So that, I want to say that's no, it can't be 6 then, because if that's 6, this line is telling the truth. This needs to have a value that's either 11 or higher, and it can't have because it can't be Schrödingered, or 0 or 1, which are impossible. So I think that's 9. It's not. Oh, it's not going to clear fog. Bother. We're not going to get confirmation of that. That's just logic that's taken us to that conclusion. This digit. Well, that digit, no, it's still interesting because that still implies this digit has to be a 3. Because it has to be 5 different from 9, at least. And it can't go up because it can't be Schrödingered. And if it goes down, it can't be 0, 1, 2 or 4. So that's 3, I think. Yes, and this has got to be real, not Schrödingered. Because the Schrödinger's gone. And indeed, there's another one there. So that's got to be 8, because 9 is not available. We're looking for a digit that's 5 away at least. So suddenly we've made a bit of a breakthrough here. Do we know which way round this 0, 5? Oh, no, maybe we don't. 9 can come out of all these squares, though. Now, and do we know for sure that this is a 2? That would knock 2 out of there. I think we do. I think I did convince myself of that. Felt a bit risky, but I think it was logical. It's like Nakamura. Well, it's logical. Okay, so one of these is Schrödinger by Sudoku on Schrödinger's. One of these has got, one of those is 8, one of these is 3. One of the, no, I was about to say something. No, there is a 7 up there. That is true. By the fact that 7 is in that cell, even though it looks a bit peculiar. Okay. I've noticed that whisper line, that Dutch whisper line, is correct. 3 and 8 differ in value by 5, which is more than 4. Knowledge bomb. So that means that one of the top Dutch whispers is wrong. But they definitely have to be. They overlap in these two positions. Yeah, I mean this whisper thing here is going into this square. It looks like both of them are going downwards. Both of them go to that square. So I think this square has to be a truth-telling square because it's got two whisper lines going in and out of it. So whichever one of these is the correct whisper, that's forcing this to have a relationship, which makes this have to be 4 different from this value. But if that's a 0, that could be anything high, including Schrödinger. If it's a 5, then this, that might have to be Schrödinger then. Oh, it can't, that's it. That's really interesting. Okay, so here's the question. Can this be a 5? What would we put into this square? It's got to be 4 different or more. Now, if it goes downwards, it's got to be 0 or 1. Now, it definitely can't be that. If we go upwards, it can't be 9 by Sudoku. And it can't be Schrödinger because of this. So that is 0, I think. And that is 5. And so this side might be where we get the complicating factors now. Because it's exactly the same logic we've got to apply here. Although, no, it's not quite the same. Because 0 and 1 aren't looking at this. So 0 is looking at it. So if we go down, this has to be a 1. And if we go up, it's got to be Schrödinger. So this is either Schrödinger. Oh, it's on an X as well. It's either Schrödinger. I don't really know how to do this. It's a Schrödinger cell or a 1. And if it's Schrödinger, its value has to be 4 or 5 different from this because it's on the X. So it's either a 9 or a 10, which would make this either a 0 or a 1. Unfortunately, that looks entirely reasonable, doesn't it? I don't see how I determine which of those is correct. If that is a 1, this has a value of, that would actually then be a 9 because it couldn't be Schrödinger. That would put 9 down here. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to think about where the puzzle is leading me now. Is it leading me to this line? I know that, yeah, I know the top green line here is lying, so this is a correct whisper. which is presumably... Well, that's okay. Okay, let's look at this digit then. Because this digit is not capable of being a high number. It can't be 9, 7, 8 or 6. So the highest value of this cell is 5. It's 5, 4, 3. Oh, this is just a 3, 4. Why don't I do that? That would be more sensible, wouldn't it? In fact, I can do the same here, for goodness sake. This puzzle has discombobulated me. Right, so 0, 2 and 9 over here. So now we've got to be careful here, because everything... We know this is telling the truth, though. So how can that be a 1? I mean, it wouldn't be 5 different from this square. It can't be a 1. But could it be a Schrödinger cell that contains a 1? It probably can. How could that be a 9? Oh, no, better than that. That square sees 0 and 2. So that is a 9. Okay, well, that can't be a 9, obviously. So let's get rid of the corner mark 2. So that is low. That is low, which implies this is high. Now, I'm just conscious, normally you can't put 5 on a whispers line, so you'd be like, okay, knock 5 out of this square. But if this was Schrödingered and contained 7 and 8, or something absurd like that, then these two squares, there's literally no pressure on either of them. And if this, I don't think I can even remove 1 from here. Because if this was 1 and 8, say, it would have a value of 9. This would certainly be 5 different or more, and this would be 5 different or more, providing... Oh, my phone's ringing. That's probably going to be Mark, but I don't want to take that at the moment. I don't know how to do turning off the phone. Is it that one? Might be that one. Let's put it there. So... Yeah, if I stopped in the middle of this, it would be very difficult, I think, for my brain to pick up what on earth is going on. So this square sees all of the low digits, so that is 4 or more, but it probably has to be quite a big digit. Oh, hang on, that digit can't be Schrödinger as well. So that's that's got to be 5 different from this. So that has to be 8 or 9, I think. So that's what causes this not to be able to be 5, is you couldn't make this cell work, because this would need to be either a 0 or a 10. And it can't be 10 or higher, because the Schrödinger option is not available. So this is 3 or 4 now. And that's a low digit, but it doesn't see all of the nice low digits we've got going on there. And do we know how this line closes? Does it just loop round like that? Let's just extend it and see if we can see. So it does that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this can't go up, because it can't get across the grid without crossing areas that we've cleared the fog from, so it must just close. But again, I think that it's tricky, this, because the options for Schrödingers, etc., mean things get very... Things get complicated, don't they? It's almost difficult for this not to be Schrödingered now. Because to be not Schrödingered, it would have to be 8. And then it could have 3 on this side, going into a 9 here, So it'd be 8, 3, 9, and then that square's not under any pressure, so that's fine. But if this is not Schrödinger, I think it has to be 8, because if it was 7, it couldn't be sufficiently different from this square. Golly, it's got very... Well, I don't think it's got... No, let's be careful about what I'm going to say now. I don't think it's... All I'm thinking is I just don't know where to look. What could it be? It's probably Sudoku. Let's be honest, it's probably Sudoku. I'm very nervous about sort of trying to use parity along, or polarity for high-lowness along here, given the possibility of Schrödinger cells. That just feels like there's going to be so many options. I mean, like this square, that has to, if that's a 0, this just has to be 5 or higher. It's under no pressure at all. If that's a 4, this has to be Schrödingered. But there's no problem with this being a Schrödinger cell, I think. So maybe what we've got to do is to think about this string of digits. At least we know, yeah, we know they're all natural, don't we? Because they see the Schrödinger. So we've got to make just Dutch whisper rules work along here, and maybe this square might be the place that we get some joy. So this digit has to be at least 4 different from this square. So let's actually pencil mark it. So it's 4, it can't be 5, 6 it can be, or 8. It's even, maybe it's parity. It's 4, 6 or 8. Now this square then, see, it's annoying, isn't it? Because if this was 4, then this square would be, it would be 9. It would be exactly 9. Because it's got to be natural. And it's got to be at least 4 different for 4. And it can't be 8 because of this square. So if this is 4, this is 9. And then that digit gets tricky. But it could be 5. Oh, this is probably right. It's probably 4, 9, 5 then. That's one option. 4, 9, 5. What about, let's see if 6 works. If we put 6 is going to be difficult actually. Because 6, then we have to go downwards to this cell here. And we don't have 0, 1, 2 or 3 available. So 6 can just be knocked out straight away. Can we knock out 8? If that's 8, this has to be... we could do 8. Oh no, we can't do 4. Right, so there's no low digit. This can't be 8. Because I don't think this can work. It can't go high because it can't be Schrödingered. And it can't go low because no low digit is available. So this is 4. That's huge. That's huge. So this is now 9. This is now... Well, I'm just going to double check. I thought this had to be 5. Yeah, it does. It has to be 5. And now I get that digit. That's 8. Oh, this is... And now this can't be 4. So that has to be 3. Good grief. And now... Oh, no, this is good. Because now this square, without being Schrödingered, it can't be high enough to be different. So this is Schrödingered. These are not Schrödingered. And this has to be... bother. I thought it was going to have to be 6 and 7, but it could be 1 and 7, and it would have a value of 8 just like this one, and it would be fine. So, this does have 7 in it, this square, for sure, because it can't be a 1-6 pair. 7 is not 5 different from 3, so there are no 7s in these squares. And, well, presumably I know what that digit is. By Sudoku, I mean, it's outrageous. Hour and 14 minutes, and you're forcing me to do Sudoku in your Sudoku puzzle. That's a 6, I think. Looking at this column, so that's not 6. Okay, and what's that doing? We probably have to think about this Dutch whisper line more in a moment or two, but let me just see if there's anything easier. If that's Schrödingered, then at least all of these squares and this one, they all have to be real now. So that might be worth looking at. Might be worth looking at, mightn't it? 8 is in one of those squares in box 3. I mean, I think this is the other position that might be worth our attention. But I'm going to check this digit first. That's at least 5. That is certainly true. It's 5, 6. It's not 7. We know there's a 7 here. It's not 8. Can it be 9? Maybe. So it's 5, 6, or 9. But if it was 5, that would be 0. And that wouldn't work, would it? Because for 5 to work along the whisper, we need 0 on one side of it, and then a Schrödinger on the other. That's what we learnt over here. So 5 is out of this square. This is 6 or 9. So if it's 6, then this would be 1, 7. And this would be 0. There'd be no option. This is 9, I think. I'm going to double check that, but because 6 is going to have to go with a low digit in this square, which is going to have to be a 0 or a 1. But if this is 6, this can't be 2, so it would be 0. And we know that this would be a 1 and a 7, so there would be no option for this square. So I think that's 9. Good. Now 9 lives at the bottom here. This square is low. It's not 2 or 3, is it? So it's 0, 1, or 4. Well, no, it's not 4, because if this was 4, that would be also having to be 9, and it can't be, because that's 9. So it's funny, sometimes you're allowed to do sort of normal whisper logic, especially when you've got a Schrödinger in the row. So that's 0 or 1, and that means this digit is a high-ish digit. Let me just mull that over for a moment. It obviously can't be 8 and 9, so I want to say it's 6 or 7. Oh, but it's not 7. Oh no, it could be 5, could it? Oh, bother. Hang on. But if it's... Oh, it could be 5 if that's Schrödinger. I don't believe it. Oh, you rotten puzzle. Right, so that's 5 or 6, I think. Good grief. So this is 5 or 6. Now, that means this square... I mean, if this is 6, this could be a 1. If this is 5, this has to be Schrödingered. And 1 and Schrödingered have as much difference as you can almost imagine, apart from 0 and Schrödingered. Oh, bother, I don't know. That's got to be low. Not 3. Not 4, actually. 4 is too close to 8. So that's... this is... Ah, okay. So that square is 0, 1, or... Oh, it's not 0. It's 0. Right. This digit is actually interesting then. Because it's low. It's got to be 5 different from 8, and it can't be 3. So it is 0, it's 0, 1 or 2, which makes it 1 or 2, which I think makes those a triple on 0, 1, 2 in the row. And that knocks 1 out of this square, which means this is a 6, 7 after all that. That knocks that makes this a 5, I think. Now 5 can't be next to 1, they're too close together, so that's a 0. So that's a 2, that's a 0. That's a 1, that's going to be good. Ah, well, it would have been if it had given me anything at all. This row is nearly done. We've not put 4 in it. So, no, 4 is in one of those two. That's not 6 anymore, because there's 6 and 7 in here. This must be Schrödinger now. because it's got to be 5 different from 5. It can't be 0. So that's got to be Schrödinger, which means that's not Schrödinger. So this is going to have a whopping value, which could be anything really. Well, it could be as much as, if this was 8, 7, it could be 15. But that puts no pressure on this digit. I'm afraid. Which... Do we know that x is real? Oh, but that's... I was just wondering about... I don't know if I can put 5 on this x. I'm just going to look at that for a second or two. 5 is in one of those squares in box 1. Now, if I put 5 here, this has to have a value of 5, and that breaks the... Yeah, that breaks the German whisper. That's not possible, so that's definitely not 5. This is 5. Whoa! Oh, no! You rotten thing. You rotten thing. Good grief. Okay. We got nothing. Absolutely diddly there. Hang on. If that's a 1, doesn't that need a 9 here? Which ordinarily would be very possible in this puzzle. You could either use actual 9, but you can't, or Schrödinger 9, which you can't. So how is that 1? That could be huge. I think that is a real x, because this one was broken. So I think that's not true. I think that that is not a 1. Now that's next to a 5. Can't be a 9, so that is now Schrödingered, and its value is either 9 or 10 for the whisper line, which means this square is a 0 or a 1. Whoops, 0 or 1. Rather annoyingly, that seems to be entirely possible, doesn't it? Okay, so what's the value of this? This is either 9 or 10. So, if it's 9, it's... What could it not be? If it's 9, this is going to be a 1. So it's not 1, 8. It's not 2, 7. It's not 4, 5. So it'd be 3, 6. Unless there's a reason that doesn't work. Not sure. If it's 10... This is 0. Can't be 2, 8. 1, 9. 4, 6. It's 3, 7. Right, so there's always 3 in this cell, which means that's not 3. So 3 is in one of those two cells in row 2, therefore. This is 3, 6 or 3, 7. This is Schrödinger. We don't know what that is. Do we know? Oh, hang on. We know that's Schrödinger, so that's not Schrödinger. So that's Schrödinger. How many Schrödingers have we got now? Oh, we've nearly got all of them. There's a Schrödinger down here, apparently. And there's a Schrödinger down here, apparently. So we've got... Yeah, we've only got 2 unforced. So probably what we need to do is to think about this line, I suspect. Now hang on a minute. We know one... this is interesting. Oh, this is very cute. Right. One of these orange lines is telling a lie. But one of them is telling the truth. And the only place they differ is here, look. So that means that the top line is the lying line, and it's lying in this regard. This and this are not 4 apart. What on earth does that mean? So does that mean this is a high number, does it? Because this is 9 or 10. So if this was... Well, if this was... Oh, it can't be 3. I mean, but if it was 2, for example, it would definitely be correct on the whisper. And then because the rest of the whisper will be correct, there would be no difference on the whisper between the top and the bottom line. So this is a relatively high digit. So I want to say it's 6, 7 or 8. No, 6. Well, 6 wouldn't work if this was 10. So if this was 3, 7 and that was 6, these would be too close then. Sorry, they would be far enough apart. I think that's a high number, but I don't think I know what it is. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. So probably something over here has got to be worked out. How are we going to do this? No, I don't know. 1? Is it 1? 1 is in one of those squares. Don't know. I don't think we know very much about zeros over here. I'm trying to think about what are the extreme digits that might be tricky to place in terms of the thingy. We do know that all of these 3 cells are single digits that have to obey the Dutch whisper rule. I don't think that's particularly troubling, is it? I mean, it looks quite easy to put 8 in the corner here. This square's a little bit under pressure if you do that. It couldn't be 0, 1 or 3. It would have to be a 2. I think that would put a 2 over here. Would put a 2 there. It would clear some fog. So if that's 8, that would be very useful. Oh, hang on. Right, it's much easier than that. How do you put 1 in this corner? I should have seen this earlier. Look, I've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 looking at this square, and it can't be Schrödingered. So if this is 1, how do we make these 4 apart? You can't do it. So that can't be 1. So this is 1. Yeah. So that's 3. Just unwinding our pencil marks. So, oh, chance of a 3 in the corner at the bottom. Oh, 1 is in the corner up here. Oh, that might be what this thing's doing. So that, oh, no, much, much more important. That's now a 0. Oh, good grief. So this is 3, 7. And now this can't be 6. Oh, this is beautiful. That's 8. Because this is 3 and 7, you can't put 6 here because it would be correct on the whisper. So 6 comes out. That has got 7 in it. So that's forced to be 8. 8 and 10 are not 4 apart, which breaks the top whisper. Takes 8 out of this square. And now that's not 8. That's 8, but it could be Schrödingered. So I better not put it. I mean, that is an 8, definitely, this cell, but it could be Schrödingered. These squares are 2 is one of them, and 6 is the other. And 2 and 6 are far enough apart, but 2 is not far enough apart from 1. So the 6 goes in the corner. The 2 goes here. There is now a 2 in the corner here, so we don't get 3 in the corner, but that might be Schrödingered. So again, I can't do it. That is a 2 in the corner because this can't be 2. It might be a 3 in the corner as well, but that's neither here nor there really. Right, so what do we need in 0, 7, 8 into these squares, isn't it? 0, 7 and 8. That's not 8. But if this is a Schrödinger cell, it's now 0, 7, and it's not different from 5 by enough. So that is just a solitary 0. So that is Schrödingered, I think. And that's got to be a 7 and an 8 then. And that's just 0 on its own. Which is great. Let's get rid of the colour. Let's get rid of the 8 corner mark there. So we get 2 7 8s there, both the same Schrödinger. So that's not Schrödinger. So that is 2 in the corner then, because this is the Schrödinger in box 9. So that's just a solitary 2. That seems to place 3 using our pencil marks. That did clear fog, thank goodness. That seems to be telling us this is, oh, that's a 9 with a something. We don't know what the something is. We've not put 5 and 7 into this box, so these are 5, 7. This is one of those digits. This column is done in the sense that we just have to fill in the options. 0, 5, 9, I want to say. And that's a 5 then, so we get that digit. This is mental. This puzzle is absolutely mental. Now, what are those digits over there? It looks like 2. No, it's not 5. Why have I got 5 here? Oh, that's fine now. So that's become a 5. It's not Schrödinger, so I dare put it in. That's become an 8 by pencil marking. And so far, when we're clearing things, the fog is working, which is something of a relief. That's 8 by Sudoku. So that's 8. That's 1. And don't know quite how to finish that off, but I do know how to do this row. I need a 2 in it, which seems to plonk a 2 here. And is that all the fog gone? I think it might be. There's a 7 in that cell, so that places a 7 here. This digit I should be able to get. That's 6, I think. And in this column, let's get rid of the 3 in the corner of that cell. We've not put in 1 and 4, so that would suggest this is the 1 and this is the 4. In this row, we need 6 and 9. Oh, typical. Can't do it. What are those digits then? They are normal, aren't they? They're 4 and... no, 4 and 6. Yeah, okay, so that's 6, that's 4. Which means this Schrödinger cell has a 4 in it. I've no doubt I can probably work out what the other one is as well, but I think from this row, 0 in this row has to go over there. So that's a 9, and that would suggest this is now a 4-9 pair, which means at least I know these digits. They are 3 and something. 3 and... why can't I see it? 3 and 0. That's what I don't think about zeros enough. 0 and 3 go into those squares, and we can do the order using this 0. I don't end up with a deadly pattern. Wouldn't that be absolutely horrendous? I'm pretty sure it'll figure it. Oh, that's got a 9 in it. So that's 9, that's 6. And now we can pencil mark the bottom of this row with what looks to be a 1-4 pair, which we can do. So that gives me a 4 here and a 5 here. That tells me that that's a 7-9 Schrödinger. So in this row I haven't put 7 in, but it's 7 and something. 7 and 6. Oh no, it's not 7 and 6. I've made a mistake. I don't believe it. Oh no. I don't believe it. Oh god, my hands are shaking. I can't believe... What have I done wrong there? It felt like I was just filling it in. 7. That whisper is working as well. What about this? That was a lying whisper connection. I remember that. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But I can't put a 7 there. That will not work. 3 and 7, add with a 0, make 10. I would get a 3 in the corner, but I don't deserve it. I don't even know how to really go about checking. The problem with Schrödinger cells is that the software won't understand them. So I'm going to have to somehow... Oh, this is horrific. This is absolutely horrific. So I've done something very seriously wrong. Well, possibly not very seriously, but I've done something seriously enough wrong that the puzzle doesn't work. That's very bad. Very, very bad. I have no idea how I'm ever going to see where it is. I mean, there must be a logic. Well, there's either a logical error or more likely it's a Sudoku error. But let's see if I can see whether I've got sort of digits in the same column or something like that. That could be it. 2s. That's okay. Not seeing a problem with 2s. 3s. Yeah, okay. Assuming there was a 3 in the corner, that would look all right. 4s. Oh, we've got 2 Schrödinger. Oh no, those 4s are wrong here. Ah, so maybe it's that. Oh, that would be great, actually. So what did I do here? Did I just scan this column wrong? Oh, that would be such a relief. Well, or would it? So what did I do? I put 1 there, that looks right. And then I put 4 there, which is total nonsense. And then I used that to unwind this. So it is possible that it was just a silly Sudoku slip. 7 is what this digit is. Okay. So now that's not 7, which means that is 7. So that has changed. Now this doesn't have 7 in it, which feels a lot better. That has 5 in it. So that's 5. That's 4. They do get a 3 in the corner. I'm putting that in last. That's a 4 and a something. Let's hope it's 6. 4 and 6. Oh, now it's going to work. Now it's going to work. Oh, then that's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. Oh my goodness, that was almost horrific, the end. I don't think the software will understand it, but what do we do? It's right. It does. I don't know how it understands it. 176 people have solved that. Do I like it? I more than like it. That is magnificent. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, I cannot tell you how difficult that is. To do that purely logically, I hope I did. I mean, it's very easy, I think, to make... I mean, I did it there. I didn't think of the option of there being a Schrödinger 02. You know, that could happen in this puzzle a lot. Because you just don't think about it. I mean, it's crazy. You know, the layering up of Schrödingers on liars on Fogn. But what a puzzle. There are some magnificent things in this. I mean, I love the sort of the elegance of flipping this line 1 cell on. So you know that the break has to come there. That's gorgeous. The circle thing was weird. Absolutely mad that you can... I mean... Yeah, I mean, that's really beautiful, that you can work 3 circles. I mean, imagine thinking that through, that can work with 1 circle being a liar, but still lending the correct digits to the other circle to make them right. I mean, that is one heck of a brain you've got, ViKingPrime. I think that's probably the hardest Fogn puzzle I've ever done on the channel. But I absolutely loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.